Walt Disney may not have been here in Kansas City for long, but long enough to inspire the idea of Mickey Mouse. At one point, homeless and living in his studio, Walt Disney left Kansas City with a new passion for animations and trained well for his future animations in Hollywood. Walt Disney was born December 5, 1901 in Chicago, Illinois, and died December 15, 1966 at St. Joseph's Hospital in Burbank, California. He lived in Chicago till he was 4 and moved to Marceline, Missouri. The family was financially struggling and his father, Elias Disney, was in poor health, so they sold the farm where Walt was raised and came to Kansas City in 1911. In Kansas City, the Disney family bought a house located at 3028 Bellefontaine Avenue. From 1911 to 1917, Walt helped his brother Roy deliver newspapers. They had to wake up at 3:30 a.m. to deliver newspapers. Either if it was cold, rainy, or snowy, they had to quickly finish on time delivering them, so they would get to school before their first class started. Walt went to Benton Grammar School, a public elementary school. His teacher said he was quiet but always full of ideas and imagination, though he would often be tired from delivering newspapers. Walt Disney took Saturday art schools at the Kansas City Art Institute. These classes helped him boost his drawing skills even though he was delivering newspapers and doing schoolwork. These classes sparked his early ambition of being a cartoonist. In 1918, Walt Disney felt a strong sense to support the United States and the influence of his older brother, who already enlisted. He went to Chicago at 16 to join the Red Cross Ambulance Corps during World War I. But he was too young to serve, so he forged his birth certificate and joined the Red Cross in France. His job was to drive ambulances and deliver supplies. Although he didn't fight, his experience had a long-lasting impact on him that changed his perspective. This experience made him mature. After the war, Walt returned to Kansas City in 1919. Once Walt returned, he began focusing on his love for arts and animations, and found work at a commercial art studio called Pesman Rubin Art Studio. It was here that Walt's exposure to the world of animations began to blossom, though they would soon leave to form a short-lived art studio with his friend Ub Iwerks called Iwerks Disney Studio. They were illustrators for Kansas City Slide newspaper company, later named the Kansas City Film Ad Company. Here he would take up works in animation, and Iwerks soon joined him. In 1920, the company primarily made animated advertisements for local businesses. It was simple, but it provided Walt with his first opportunity to learn the technical aspects of animation. This company saw something in Walt. He was still perfecting his animating skills, but what set him apart was his imagination. The work was straightforward, but he was trying to use cut-out animations, where he would use paper figures instead of hand drawing them. This allowed him to play with movement no one had before. It was a small breakthrough, but it planted the seed for what would become his passion, bringing characters to life in entirely new ways. Determined to take his animation further, he founded his studio, Laugh-O-Gram Studio, with the help of a small but talented team. He began producing a series of animated shorts. The first animations of Laugh-O-Gram Studio were Little Red Riding Hood, Alice's Comedies, and Newman's Laugh-O-Grams. He used fairy tales as his canvas, and the studio quickly became known for its creative approach to taking live-action footage combining with animated characters. This was one of the first times the idea of blending the real world with animation was explored. Though the studio wasn't doing too good because Walt wasn't a good businessman. When he was asked how much would it be to make Laugh-O-Gram, Walt calculated it would cost 30 cents per foot, with each film being about 300 feet of film. Unfortunately, being so eager, he forgot to add profit margin for himself. As a result, he sold his film for exactly what it cost to make it. Since he wasn't making much profit, he often lived from couch to couch, but mostly inside his studio, sleeping on the floor and having his toothbrush in the bathroom. Soon, though, the studio was struggling with financials and went bankrupt, so Laugh-O-Grams was closed in 1923. After going bankrupt with Laugh-O-Gram Studio, he saved up money to go to Hollywood and start all over again. Now going to Hollywood, he would create a new studio called Disney Brother Cartoon Studio with his brother Roy. In the studio, he created iconic characters such as Mickey Mouse. He would later move to a larger studio and create big hits like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The movie allowed him to build a bigger and newer studio. This studio produced all the famous animations we know and love today, like Pinocchio, Dumbo, and Bamba. This studio is the headquarters of Disney to this day. One little fun fact is that without Kansas City, we wouldn't have Mickey Mouse. As he slept there at night, he heard a mice come out looking for crumbs from his employee lunches, which were tossed in a wired wastebasket. He began to put out food for these mice. The mouse stayed in a drawer of his desk and in a small cage Walt brought for it. Before he left Kansas City, he made a point of taking his mouse companion out into the countryside so he could not fall victim to the cats that lived in the restaurant on the first floor of the Laugh-O-Gram building. 5 years later, that mouse would become the mouse we know and love today, Mickey Mouse. Walt's stay in Kansas City wasn't by any means long, but it was the foundation on which Disney is built today. Though Laugh-O-Gram may have been gone bankrupt, its lessons to Walt's life to this day, making Laugh-O-Gram still successful even with its closing.